Hello, everyone, and welcome to Co-Creation Station, the podcast where we talk about the law of attraction, the art of allowing, spiritual magic, the mind-body-spirit connection, and how to best enjoy this mystical, miraculous, mysterious, crazy, sometimes confounding, but always incredible journey we call life. My name is Collin. I'm a teacher, tarot oracle card reader, and a singer and guitarist in the rock band Red Treasure, and I'm located in beautiful, sunny North Hollywood, California.
I like the word northern. It's okay. My name is
It's not,
Stephanie
though.
Orlina, and yeah, right. And I am a transformational life coach, and I help people shift away from negative thinking. And I am in San Diego, California. We have some rain today. It's cloudy, blue
Really?
skies. Yeah, we had it overnight.
Wow.
It's October. We have rain. I'm so happy because
I feel
our
like,
weather in October can be. It's all over the place. It's still summer in October for us. It's
yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, no, it's still summer here too. But we had about, I think it rained for about 5 minutes a couple nights ago. It
Okay.
was pretty exciting. We want to thank you so much for listening and watching. At this time, we're posting a brand new episode for you every Monday morning. We appreciate you doing whatever your platform allows you to do to support the podcast, liking us, following us, subscribing to us, leaving us a comment, writing us a review. All of that helps other people find us. Each week, we start a discussion from a different jumping off point. And for the first time in quite a while, possibly ever, I thought of a topic during the week and I managed to write it down before I forgot.
And I'm going to interrupt you really quickly.
Oh, yes, yes.
Kudos to you for doing that. And I want to give a shout out to Jacqueline, Sarah, and Kelly. Thank you, 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 thank you for reaching out to us and saying thank you. We love that from episode 13. If you have no idea what we're talking about, go ahead and take a listen to that. But thank you so much for, yeah, just
I hate
reaching out to us.
podcasts where the hosts congratulate each other on things. I'm going to do that because you can't. Sometimes I come up with the title, sometimes you come up with the title. We never come up with the title beforehand. It's always like we just let the discussion go where it goes, and then we come up with the title afterwards.
Right.
But sometimes I do that, sometimes you do that. I thought your title for episode 13 was really good, and I meant to tell you that before. But
Oh, thank you very much.
yeah, so
Okay.
I hate it when people do that on podcasts. I didn't mention that.
Hey, but
It's
we're
always
art
like
of allowers, so appreciation's going to be in there.
I just always think, like, do you ever watch? Well, you don't watch the news, and I try not to. But like sometimes on the news, like people would just be like, like somebody will do a report, and they'll toss it back to the anchor, and the anchor's like, "Wow, thank you so much. That was a really great report, Stephanie." And it's like, isn't that a conversation that should be happening like after you turn the cameras off, like when you talk to your boss, like, why am I?
They're
I
in
feel
the
like
moment and they're giving their appreciation and their joy of it.
But I feel like I'm the viewer, like I'm the customer, like I feel like I should be able to, like, what if I think Stephanie's report was terrible? Like, no, that was a fantastic report, Stephanie. I'm like, I don't think so.
That's the whole mix of that whole like the kitchen thing. There's everything in the kitchen. So some people are gonna like it, some people are gonna not like it. It is what it is.
Yeah. But I mean, here's another.
Okay, wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Really
Oh
quick.
my god, I can't believe we're doing this.
No. Like, imagine though, if you went to a restaurant and they brought you your meal, right? And it wasn't very good. But then both the chef and the waitress or the server came out, and the server said to the chef, "Wow, thank you so much for Stephanie's dinner. That was a great dinner, chef." And you're sitting there.
Yeah, but you're saying that it wasn't good. What if it was good and they said that?
But that's not the story.
Okay, we're like we just dove off into
Anyway,
the canyon.
the topic that actually was two different topics. I think we're going to kind of combine them.
Yes.
But the first part of it is, I'll just state it and then we can talk about it. But is there any value to criticism? And is criticism forbidden in the practice of the art of allowing? This is how it occurred to me during the week. And what this came out of was, I was really thinking about, I want to talk about all forms of criticism, but I was really thinking about artistic criticism, like movie critics, food critics, book reviews, things like that. by like professional reviewers or professional food critics or whatever, because there is, I'll just brief this up and take all the details out of it for simplicity, but there's a TV show that I am interested in, and I like parts of it, and other parts of it kind of rub me the wrong way. And I read a review that this author wrote, and he's a professional writer. He reviews TV shows, and it was it was super negative, but I felt like the points that he made were accurate, and if I were someone writing scripts for a television show, I would be able to use his points as inspiration or direction to make something even cooler or something like that.
Cool.
But I know that we talk a lot about stay away from negative thoughts, stay away from,
Well, I think
wallowing
it's
in bad feelings and things like that, and like just avoid the negative, and I there's a lot of
well,
wisdom in that, but I was wondering, like, well, how does this thing that I'm getting something, I feel like I'm getting something valuable out of it, how would that fit in?
those are two different things. I just want to say we don't say I wouldn't say stay away from negative things altogether. We can't. It's around us. It's gonna, and
Right.
sometimes we step into it, and that's fine. We're human. It's part of our journey here. At the same time, um, it's not something that I would go looking for because it's not going to serve me. It's something that I try not to stay there. I think the more that I practice the art of allowing, I have a lower tolerance for feeling bad and feeling negative emotion. Um, so we're going to stumble across negative things. We're going to get into negative thinking. But I guess what I want to say that we're saying here is don't live there. Don't spend your life there.
Hmm.
That's all I'm saying. Unless you choose to. Like if you want to, do that, great. That's all for you. But if you're looking to live life fully, I don't I personally don't think I'm going to get there by doing that.
I think that's helpful. I think one thing that goes through my mind when we talk about this sort of thing is that I think there's a way to co-create
And we
with
are. We
with
are.
someone.
We absolutely are.
Like if I'm editing, let's just say I'm an editor at a book publishing company, and it's my job to sort of edit other people's books before they become published. There's a way that I can celebrate what's great about the book, but then also present things that I believe the book would benefit from it being changed in a particular way, and working with the author in a way of like, this is something I'm finding that might, if we could change it, it might make the book better. And so we're in a partnership where we're co-creating an end product together.
All right.
And you kind of do need, I don't know if negative is the right term, but you do need somebody to be able to say, like this sentence here, I can see how that when you wrote it, it made sense to you. But for me as a reader, just approaching it, I feel like it doesn't really make sense. If you could change it so that it was easier to understand, that would make it better. So I do have to get like negative to say like the way it's written here didn't work for me. But I do feel like in the world of professional critics, food critics, movie critics, whatever, there's like there's that way of doing it, but then there's also what a lot of those kind of critics do, which is they get unnecessarily mean and cruel.
Well, I think and I hear what you're saying, and I think there are some who are and there are some who are not. And I think
Hmm.
it really goes back to
I agree.
individuals.
Yeah.
And kind of like what we were saying, like some people can be negative and that's just kind of their jam, and that's
Yeah.
okay. And then there's other people who try to put a happier spin, a better feeling spin on things, a more positive spin on things, and that's their jam. And so I love what you I got the gist of what you said is like we need it all. It's all
Yeah.
like we came for all of it. and we get to
Yeah.
pick and choose.
I
And I
guess what
love the
was
way you use the editor, because there's a couple of different ways an editor can go about that, and it depends upon the individual, and they can come in and be really critical,
hmm.
or they can come at it in a way that's a little more gentler but firmer, and being like, I hear what you're saying, and I would suggest this. And
I think a lot of times for me in work that I do, it's not really even a question of is it gentle, is it harsh, whatever. It's almost like the attitude of the person. Like, are we a team co-creating this together, or are we enemies? And I'm pointing out negative stuff that you did, and it's like if we can, if the vibe is we're a team co-creating something, it's almost like it doesn't matter all that much how they put what they put. As long as I feel like we're on the same team, then it's like, oh, okay, we're just hashing this out to get to the end product that works for
absolutely,
both of us. But if
absolutely,
somebody gets adversarial, and I feel like a lot of these critics, movie critics, food critics, etc., that's the attitude they sort of approach it with. It's like, this restaurant has offended me by having bad food, or this movie's an insult to me because it was so poorly put together. And I always think that, like,
I think sometimes they just do that for the effect. That's just kind of their jam.
well,
You know what I
obviously,
mean?
yeah, there's a law of attraction aspect there of that I think I mean, this is universal to media, including YouTube, podcasts, us, whatever. But like, you can always try to get the attention of viewers or listeners or readers by going super negative, and everything we've talked about a lot on this podcast about the lizard brain part of our minds, there's a part of our brain just looking for negative, looking for wrong, looking for danger, looking for threats, looking for negative. So I think anybody who's a writer of anything, and they can just like, well, if I get mean and cruel here, that's gonna raise eyebrows, that's gonna get eyeballs on this, that wouldn't otherwise. um, I think what was troubling to me about this review that this guy wrote of this TV show was that, like, he was mean and cruel. Like, I feel like he went out of his way to
Yeah.
be a jerk, but then he was a smart, savvy, knowledgeable person, and so mixed in with the cruelty was really good points.
Yeah.
Like, if he could have approached it from a co-creation standpoint and said, what I really love about this is XYZ, but here are some things I think could be improved.
Right.
I feel like it would have been a much more rewarding read for me. But
Well, it
as it
sounds
was
to me by
written,
through this experience, you've put in a critic into your vortex that is doing just that.
oh, explain that. That sounds fascinating. What do you mean?
Well, by having this experience of reading this critic's review, there were things you liked about it and things that you didn't like about it.
Yeah,
And so when I experience something that I don't like, I know immediately what I do like, whether I'm conscious of it or not.
yeah.
And anything I want, like, and need is put into my vortex.
That's a great point.
And so it's out there somewhere, and I'm looking
I
forward
think
to
with
you telling me the day when you come across this critic that really was
well, I
intelligent and
think
pointed out and then suggested.
yeah. I think what happened was, if that's great. I hadn't really thought back to, like, oh yeah, I mean, we attract everything. So if I came across this review, I must have attracted it somehow.
Well, not only that, but that wasn't even what I was saying, is that
Oh,
through that experience, you've also created what you want in the sense of a
oh, the
critic.
contrast of it. Yeah,
The contrast of it, the critic that has both, that you
yeah,
explained it really well. Of,
yeah,
he pointed out some really great things, and he was intelligent, but then he kind of jammed them with these things that he didn't like. And
yeah.
it wouldn't it have been nice if he could have put it in a way that was, I can't repeat what you said, but there's a critic out
Collaborative,
there. Yeah, exactly.
constructive, collaborative.
Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
critic out there, and you're going to find them.
I think to backtrack and but to sort of, even though this was one you were talking about, to go back and think, like, oh, why would I have attracted this review? And the thing is, because I feel like the TV show is wildly popular, especially among people I hang out with. And I like certain aspects of it, and certain aspects of it rub me the wrong way. And most of the people that love the show talk about it as if it can do no wrong. Like
Oh, I
everything
was
about it.
wondering why,
Yeah.
because you're saying, oh, there's a show I like right now. And so I didn't know there were things about it that you didn't like. So,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah.
No, there are things about it I don't like. And I think that's why it's kind of uncomfortable for me, because there are things I like and things I don't. So I think in terms of how we talk about things, like my vibration is like, oh yay, I love that. I don't really like that.
Hmm.
But something that was adding discomfort to that experience of watching the show is talking to my friends and associates who just don't have any of the things that bother them that
Yeah.
bother me. And so when I found this critic, the good
You
part
had an
was,
alliance.
well, partly,
Yeah.
but the thing is,
there again, right? But you were
this is
on
the
the
thing
other
I
side
got.
of the fence.
Yeah. So what really happens is there's these people that, from my perspective, are on extremes. There's people, my friends, who love the show,
Yeah.
and it's like it's awesome. Everything about it's awesome. There's nothing wrong with it. Da 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 da. And they don't want to hear anything about any negatives towards it. And then this guy, the critic, is like, this show's terrible. It's terrible in every way. Here's all the different ways it's terrible, and you should never watch it. And I feel like I'm in the middle. Like, I feel like, no, there's good things about it. Like,
Yeah.
my friends aren't watching it because it's terrible and they're just
Yeah.
deluded. Like, the things that are good about it are worth watching. But a lot of the stuff that the critic talks about is like, yeah, that's bothersome. Like, that's kind of rubbing me the wrong way. So I think I attracted the critic just so I could kind of, and I notice I do this in my life sometimes. It's like I have a little bit of a challenge validating myself just in the moment. And so I'll attract someone who's like,
To
what, I've
validate
always
you.
thought, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like,
Yeah.
what, I'm glad you came around because,
I feel the same way. I'm glad you feel that way too.
yeah.
Oh, okay. Wow. See,
But it's
so
interesting.
both.
I feel like a lot of times when we talk about attracting more of what you want into your life, practicing the art of allowing, we really do talk about it in kind of these extremes. I don't know if that's the right word, but where it's like, I want to go on a vacation to the Bahamas, and it's like, well, that's a pretty, for somebody that wants to go to the Bahamas, it's a pretty awesome experience. When they go, they're gonna probably like most of it. Maybe it'll rain one day or something, but you know what I mean? It's not 50-50. Like, I want to go to the Bahamas and I'm going to like half of it and not like half of it. But there are things in life where
Oh, there's
you
a
do
lot of
like
things.
part and not like part.
Absolutely. I think
And
there's vacation times where there's things I really love and there's other things I
yeah,
don't. But
yeah,
I think it goes back to that whole art of allowing. I just try to focus on the parts that I do like,
yeah,
and I'll talk a little bit about the things I don't like, but it's like, okay, how's that served me? Let me get out of
yeah.
there. And
I feel that,
that's life. When we get something we really want, then
yeah.
there's like, and then there's like, oh, but I didn't like that. Oh, but oh, what about that?
Well,
It's
and
like
this
everything.
this perfectly leads into the second part,
I love that when that happens.
which was the other question that came up for me this week, which is, what is the difference between focusing on the positive and denial? And I think my challenge watching the show is that I feel like I've got to be one or the other, right? I've got to be this critic and just never watch it again, or I've got to be like
Aw,
my friends and love it and not have the
why
stuff
can't
that I
you
don't
just be
like.
you?
Right. I can. But it's easier, right? Like, it's easier. Like, if
It's
you
easier.
love a movie
Yeah.
and you're walking around and there's one person over here on the left who also loves the movie, like just
Okay.
loves it,
Yeah.
and there's another person who likes parts of it but didn't like parts of it. Like, who do you want to talk to? If you love the movie, you don't want to talk to the person that had trouble with 50% of it, right?
Or I would talk to that person, but we would talk about the parts that we did like about it.
I think my challenge is, how can I be someone who reads the critic's review and says, you know what, I agree with these points, but I disagree with that person because I think the show has a lot of good stuff and it is worth watching. can I listen to, and I don't have to write to this guy. I can do that just in my own mind, right? And when I talk to my friends, can I celebrate the parts that I do like? And when they talk about parts that I don't like, just shut the fuck up.
Yes, I like that.
you
That's a
know?
good idea. Yes,
Because
yes,
I
yes,
feel like
yes.
a lot in life, we feel like we have to like be all in or all out on things.
Yeah,
And
how's that working for us?
and then we can only, if we're all in on something, we can only talk to the people that are all in on it. And there are times where it's like, yeah, if I love a movie and somebody says, oh, I think that movie's crap, it's like, yeah, I don't want to, I'm probably
You're
not
just
going
not
to have a
gonna
2 hour
you're not gonna
conversation.
talk to them about that, right? You're not.
Or I'll talk to them for a few minutes and be like, okay, I hear your perspective, but I'm
Yeah,
not
and
going to
just
spend
change the
all day.
subject.
Yeah,
Yeah, no,
yeah,
just change the subject, or that's
yeah.
just not something you talk about with that person, and that's
But
okay.
but that's so to get into this second part in the few minutes that we have left. I do feel like that's a potential pitfall of trying to practice the art of allowing or learning how to practice the art of allowing best is that you may get so focused on like, well, okay, I need to keep my vibration as high as positive as possible. That means I need to be thinking thoughts that make me feel good, which would lead me to feel good more often than not. um, but I feel like that could very easily lead you into like, oh, things in life that are negative, I'm just going to ignore them entirely and act like they're not there. And I think that's one of the reasons why I felt like when I was talking to my friends and I had to agree with them,
You didn't
not
have
that they were
to.
pressuring me. I didn't have to, but I felt like I had to agree with them on these things. I like these things that I don't like. That I was having to like go into denial about those things, and which
No,
is
you
this kind
weren't.
of
Yeah,
self-deception or
yeah.
self
No.
dishonesty about like, well, no, those things don't exist, or no, those things are fine. When it's like, I know I don't feel like that, and I feel like in relationships, which are very complicated between two human beings, people do this a lot, where we all know that whether it's friendship, romantic relationship, whatever, coworker, we're all different. So we have to accept things about each other we may not like. But
Hmm.
there's a difference between accepting something and like being in a friendship with an abusive person and just like acting like their abuse of me isn't happening.
Well, you've went
Small
you
subtopic.
yeah, well, you went to like you were in this range, and then you just went way, went extreme and excessive. Like what? So, um, whew, that's
You're
like
welcome.
several different things there.
You're welcome.
I think with the friends and the show, like it's okay for you to not agree with them,
Mm-hmm.
and but celebrate that they like it too, but then also be like, I don't agree with them that it's perfect and there's nothing wrong here, and
Mm-hmm.
then be okay with yourself that you feel that way and that they feel that
Yeah.
way. It's like this whole acceptance of, um it is what it is,
Yeah.
and that and to I think what I hear is like really just validating yourself. Like, no, you have a different opinion, and so
Mm-hmm.
do they,
Mm-hmm.
and honor your opinion, and it's okay. And you don't need to, like, alter. Like, how is this working for me if I'm trying to convince someone to have the same point of view that I do?
Mm-hmm.
Ha! We could be there all day and night. How some people say, let's just agree to disagree when they can't
Mm-hmm.
convince each other. Um, but then denial, like with the abusive thing, no, like anyone who's in an abusive situation, I always support them in taking care of themselves and leaving, getting out of it, not participating in it, doing whatever they need to do to take care of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think, you know, coming back to how when other people have different opinions than us, or that we don't agree, or relationships, yet we're all different.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, we do need to accept certain things,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe I'm with this person for many other different reasons. And yeah, I don't like this part of how they are, but I love all these other things. And I love that whole, like, whatever I put my attention on grows,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's something I don't like or whether it's something I like. And I think the whole art of allowing, it's not about me being perfect at it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not black and white, it's very gray, and
Mm.
it's just flowing, and it's just doing my best in any moment. And sometimes my best isn't that great, but it's the best I can do,
Mm.
to take care of myself, or I am in a bad mood, and it is what it is. But I always love that, when I go to bed at night and I wake up in the morning, oftentimes I feel way better than I did the day
Mm.
before.
Mm.
um, and for anyone who's practicing this, it's just like, be gentle, go easy with it. It's not about being in denial. Just pay attention to how you feel, and if it feels good, keep doing it. If it doesn't feel good, step away and do something else, or maybe look at it and put a positive spin on it. Like, what is this doing for me? um, is this really working for me? Is there some good in it that I don't see?
Yeah, I think it gets complicated. I like how you talked about, it being a gray area because I think that's that's a concept that for me, when I learned it years ago, was very helpful because I was looking at the world in duality a lot. Like it's either this or that. And sometimes we need to do that for simplicity, just to sort through things in life because life is
Yeah,
complicated. But more often
yeah,
than not, anything we look at is more complicated than it's either A or B. There's usually a
exactly.
range of possibilities, and if you just can
Hmm.
understand that and work with it, you're way ahead of the game than more than you would be if you're just looking in that sort of it's either one or the other kind of thing. I think it's challenging because I know that Abraham Hicks that we talk about a lot here, and please Google Abraham Hicks if this is your first time. So I don't have my handy 30-second explanation. But I remember a lot listening to some of the workshops where she was talking to people, responding to their questions, and saying things like for example, when I do get into my little binges of watching the news, which I try to avoid as much as possible now. Um, one thing my brain says is like, well, this is true. You know, this is true. This bad news in this part of the world, this is new. This is actually happening. It's not a lie. And it's like, yeah, but that doesn't mean I have to put my attention on it. That doesn't mean I have to focus on it. And the other thing is that I think this is mentioned in The Secret, but it's very quick. It goes by very quickly. But the other thing is that almost any negative situation, there's a way to focus on the positive if I really want to. Like if there's some famine happening in the world, if some country is struck with a famine, me as one person, there's not a whole heck of a lot I can do about that. I mean, if I felt really called to, I could get on a plane and become a health worker or something and try to distribute food or whatever, but more than likely in my life the way it is, I'm not going to be able to do that, or that I don't feel like that's my destiny. But if I really do feel compelled in that moment by that information, like wow, there's thousands of people in a country far away who don't have food and I want them to have food, then I can do something, and it may be very small, but it may be like donate to a charity that gives food to people in famine ravaged countries or something. Or I mean, it doesn't even have to be financial. It can be like literally meditating on the fact that like I have enough food and I'm grateful for that, and I wish that for the world. I just wish that people who are hungry to have food, and really focus on them having food, not having food in the future and there being less famine in the future, instead of focusing and getting depressed and discouraged and frustrated and angry and negative and
Yeah,
staying
because
stuck in,
that's not serving them. It's just
oh, there's
making you
famine, it's awful, it's
or
famine,
anyone
it's
around
awful,
you. Yeah, yeah.
and staying stuck there. And so I think it is tricky because you can, you know, it's like that. What I just suggested seems in a way like, oh, you're just pretending it doesn't exist, and I'm like, no, you're not
No, that's
pretending it
not
doesn't
what you.
exist.
That's not what I
you're
heard you
you're
say or do.
choosing how you're going to approach it with your
Yeah.
being, your energy, you know
Well,
and
and
you're
I
not letting
love.
it take you down.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And I love what Abraham has said about things like that when people are experiencing horrific things in life, and just they're like, just know that they're asking. They're asking in that moment for a
Mhm.
solution, and it has been given,
Yeah.
and we need to focus on that.
Yeah.
And along with what you were saying with that is, like, I would pray, like I always pray, like, please guide them for their highest good,
Mm.
and please give them whatever it is that they're needing and that what they're
Mhm.
wanting, because I can't do anything more sometimes than just that,
Yeah.
and that is, I believe, energetically helpful,
Yeah.
because it's not my job to save everyone, and everybody's having their own experience, and I don't know what walking through that experience is going to serve them and others in some way, talking about co-creating, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
There are other people who want to come to and are able to go to their assistance. So,
Cool. Well, thank you so much for your responses. I feel enlightened by our conversation. And I hope people listening and watching got something out of it as well. That's going to wrap us up for today. We're so happy that you joined us for this discussion. We hope you got something out of it. We are posting a brand new episode for you every Monday morning at this point, at the time we're recording this. We truly appreciate you doing whatever your platform allows you to do to support us. Like us, follow us, subscribe to us, leave us a comment, write us a review. All of that helps other people find it. Find the show here. All of our social media links and our email address are in the description of the YouTube version on the video down below in the doodly doo. Wish you a happy and abundant week, and we look forward to you joining us again on the next episode of Co-Creation Station.
bye.
Bye, everybody.